The Ghost Rider is one of Marvel's more obscure characters that only dedicated fans of the comic books would really be familiar with, before the 2007 film starring Nicolas Cage, in my opinion. Created by a 30-person team of Gary Friedrich, Roy Thomas, and Mike Ploog, Ghost Rider would make his debut in August 1972 on the cover of Marvel Spotlight issue number 5. Despite the original film being released in 2007, which is just a year before the fateful Iron Man movie that really kicked off the MCU, the anti-hero could never take his rightful place amongst the Marvel Pantheon at the time, because its rights were still not held by Marvel. However, this all changed in 2013, I believe, when Marvel finally reacquired the rights to the character from Sony. Despite having gotten the rights back for the film, it would take another 13 years before a new Ghost Rider film would be announced. Thankfully, this year, our wait would finally be over, when during the San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced the Spirit of Vengeance would be returning to the big screen, with director Sean Levy at the helm and actor Ryan Gosling starring as Ghost Rider. I think it's fair to say that this was one of the most hyped announcements of all time, considering the legacy of the character and the way in which it was done. So in today's video, I'll be exploring everything we know so far about the Ghost Rider film starring Ryan Gosling, and for more updates regarding this film, be sure to keep up with our channel. So with all that out of the way, put on your leather jackets, rev those engines, and let's ride! The Comic-Con announcement. You know, I was like most fans on Saturday night on July 25th, 2026, waiting for a host of announcements to be made as usual by the folks at MCU and Hall H of the San Diego Comic-Con. However, never did I think that I would be as envious of the 7,000 plus fans who sat packed wall to wall in that dim convention hall as much as I feel today. Most fans had their Doctor Doom masks on, waiting for some more juice on the next phase of the MCU, but what we got that day was even better. When Kevin Feige took the stage, even as the lights dimmed and the flames erupted across the massive screens, the ultimate bombshell of this year's San Diego Comic-Con dropped, with Ryan Gosling walking out to join Feige and director Sean Levy, confirming that he'd been cast as the flaming skull-faced anti-hero Ghost Rider. For years, Gosling had flirted with the idea of playing the Ghost Rider, and finally, inside Hall H, that long-running wish of his came true as he is officially set to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know that Feige and company are notorious for enforcing secrecy when it comes to the MCU, but this has to be their best-kept secret to date, as nobody saw this coming from any angle. There were no leaks, no trade reports, no rumors on social media. I mean, there were no indications that Ryan Gosling was even going to be there at the San Diego Comic-Con, and yet, here he was, saying, "Wow, is this really happening?" As you know, this is a character I've wanted to play for a very long time. Yes, Ryan, I think it's safe to say that this is really happening, and I, for one, can't wait for the promo materials to begin dropping soon. Gosling as Ghost Rider, casting details. One thing that I think people need to understand from the get-go is that with Ryan Gosling taking over the role of Ghost Rider, it's a whole new start for the Spirit of Vengeance, from Nick Cage's Sony-produced films of 2007 and 2012. I think this is something that's quite significant because recently, Marvel has been leaning into nostalgia and bringing back Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and even some of the other X-Men who are set to reprise their roles in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. Yet here we are, with Gosling starring as the new Ghost Rider, completely abandoning the MCU's new mantra, which I'm all here for. As far as I know, there are zero ties to Sony's films, as Nicolas Cage's portrayal of the character seems entirely separate from the MCU's main continuity, with Ryan's Ghost Rider set to be built in natively to Marvel's movie franchise. I think that doing so was important because it gives Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling total creative freedom to redefine this anti-hero for a brand new era. I think it's also important to note that Gosling's Ghost Rider will probably be used to expand the MCU's supernatural mythos, which they seem to be leaning into with the introduction of characters like Mephisto. All in all, while Nicolas Cage's take on the character will always remain branded into my soul, I'm very optimistic about what Gosling is going to do with this character. Director and creative team. As I mentioned earlier, Sean Levy is said to be taking on the director role for this project, with Gosling not only starring in, but also apparently acting as executive producer, though the latter role hasn't been confirmed yet by the actor. I think it's fair to say that recently, Sean Levy's stardom seems to be on the rise within Hollywood, having only recently steered Marvel Studios' smash hit Deadpool and Wolverine to box office success, and now having just wrapped up filming with the latest Star Wars movie Starfighter, which is scheduled to hit theaters on May 28, 2027. It's quite clear that Levy is no stranger to directing fantasy and superhero films, having made his bones with two of the biggest franchises out there. During the official announcement that I just mentioned earlier, Gosling made it clear that Levy was his singular choice to helm the project, praising their shared creative vision. On the same note, Levy chimed in expressing similar enthusiasm for partnering with Gosling to bring the spirit of vengeance in its new avatar to life on the big screen. However, aside from Levy and Gosling's involvement with the new film, the rest of the creative team is yet to be announced by Marvel. At this stage in development, what I do know is that Jonathan Trooper has been officially confirmed for the project. Marvel, as they normally do, is keeping narrative details strictly under wraps, with things still being in an early structural phase. I just hope that they assemble an Avengers-level crew for this movie, both in terms of casting and production, considering the hype it's generated. How the pitch was born in direct quotes. Remember the Star Wars Starfighter film that Sean Levy just wrapped filming, which I mentioned earlier? Well, the actor starring in that is none other than Ryan Gosling. During their time together on the set of Starfighter, the two really hit it off, trading ideas about their shared vision for the Ghost Rider character. Gosling, who had voiced interest in playing the character years ago, seems to have finally found someone who matched his ideas for the project, and what started as casual conversations between the two quickly turned into a collaborative brainstorming session, which ended with this announcement being made in Hall H this year. Levy had a lot to say about Gosling and how it shaped the pitch for this film. In his own words, he said, "Gosling is the absolute shit. I say that with tremendous respect." When asked how the pitch for the film was born, he said, "We spent a lot of time last year making Starfighter, and the opportunity came as Ryan started talking to me about his vision for this character, and the opportunity of what this movie could be, and we started riffing. And finally I was like, bro, let's ride. We'll see you in 2028. I'll certainly see you then, Mr. Levy, as will thousands of fans waiting worldwide. You can count on that. Gosling's long road to the role. I think it's fair to say that Hollywood is no stranger to actors pitching themselves for a certain role. I mean, just look at what Jason Momoa recently did to land the role of Lobo in the new Supergirl flick. However, Ryan Gosling's journey to playing the Ghost Rider has been much longer and more storied than Momoa's playing the Zarian bounty hunter. The initial spark for it came all the way back in 2022, when in an interview while promoting The Gray Man, Gosling shut down any rumors about playing Nova, while explicitly telling Josh Horowitz that Ghost Rider was the only superhero he wanted to play. The same year, MCU President Kevin Feige responded at Comic-Con saying, "I'd love to find a place for him in the MCU. I already mentioned the brainstorming sessions that he had with Dr. Sean Levy on the set of Star Wars Starfighter, which confirmed his continued interest in the character even years later." There's also this interview in MTV's Happy Sad Confused podcast earlier this year, when he was promoting his film Project Hail Mary, where Gosling continued to flirt with the idea of joining the MCU, fueling intense fan speculations. He's on record for saying that the reason he hadn't joined the MCU so far was because the deal presented to him was complicated, which completely blindsided everyone despite his interest in the role not being a real secret. Release date and scheduling context. As I mentioned earlier, Sean Levy and Marvel Studios have already announced that they're targeting a 2028 release timeline for now. There are rumors swirling around the internet that they're looking to release the film around December 2028. But since the date hasn't been officially announced by Marvel, I think it's fair to say that it's all just speculative at this point. Levy being announced as director, and Jonathan Trooper as the screenwriter, no further decisions have been made regarding the cast and crew, meaning the film is still in its nascent stages of production. Not to mention, Levy and Gosling must first complete the post-production and promotional duties for their upcoming collaboration, Star Wars Starfighters first. I guess filming for Ghost Rider won't start until mid-2027 or early 2028 at the earliest. I mean, I'd rather them take their time and cook up something great than rush things and give us something disappointing. For now, I guess, at least we have something to look forward to 2 years from now. The Eva Mendes connection. In what I can only describe as fate, the actress Eva Mendes is tied to both Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider and the just-announced Ghost Rider film starring Ryan Gosling. I know not everybody keeps up with the lives of Hollywood celebrities, so many of you might not know that Eva Mendes is Ryan Gosling's partner in real life. And as we all know, she also played the love interest of Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, Roxanne Simpson, back in the day. This small detail gives the upcoming Ghost Rider film a bit of a meta layer to it, tying both the present and past Ghost Riders together, considering Mendes' history with the franchise and her relationship with Gosling. I swear, you cannot make up stuff like this even if you tried. Legacy of the original Ghost Rider films. When the original Ghost Rider film starring Nick Cage was released all the way back in 2007, I remember going to the theater to watch it and stepping out feeling totally entertained by it. Sure, it didn't have the insane visual effects we're used to today or a deep, compelling narrative, but what it lacked, it made up for in spades with its dark horror tones, mixed with Nick Cage's performance, which, in my opinion, leaned heavily into unhinged B-movie theatrics in a good way. I mean, the guy was literally drinking jelly beans from a martini glass, listening to Karen Carpenter to soothe his soul, and unleashing screams that only he's able to during his transformation scenes. Yet, I think I won't be alone when I say that this was peak entertainment, and despite its lukewarm reception by critics and Rotten Tomatoes, it continues to be spoken of fondly by fans to this day. Unfortunately, since the rights of the character of the time didn't belong to Marvel at that point, despite coming out only a year before the Iron Man movie, the character never made it into the MCU. The film gave us iconic scenes like the dual ride scene where Johnny Blaze and the Caretaker, played by Sam Elliott, ride together in the desert, which will forever live on in my memories as one of the most epic things I've ever watched in a superhero film. I think regardless of what the critics have to say, the legacy of the Sony films is cemented with fans who still rave about it to this day. In that sense, the upcoming Ghost Rider film will easily outstrip the financial success of its predecessors, but when it comes to its legacy with the fans, I believe it has very large shoes to fill, and only time will tell if it'll even be able to do that. To conclude, I just want to say I'm still reeling from the San Diego announcement for this film, and couldn't be more hyped to see the Flaming Skull make his return to the big screen. However, if the movie industry has taught us anything, it's to temper our expectations, which is why, despite my hype, I'm still cautiously optimistic. Let's hope that Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling give us fans not just the Ghost Rider that we want, but the Ghost Rider that we deserve. Tell me what you're hoping to see in this new Ghost Rider film in the comments. For now though, it's time for me to say goodbye. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay marvelous.